Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching Woo, the Political Vigilante. Oh, bringing you truth and justice without having to lockstep into what the true left is doing. Like, we get to make our own decisions on this show. Like we did 3 years ago, we didn't go all in on Tulsi, and then we called her a sellout. Like, we just make different decisions over here. So one of the great ways you can support the show is go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood, and you can submit articles like Tim Stack has submitted. Tim, thank you so much. You've been supporting the show from day one. I very much appreciate it. Conservatives have a new boogeyman, critical energy theory, inside ALEC's new campaign to push anti-climate legislation across the country. So this is like, again, I'm going to get into it in a second, but it's pushed by the Koch brothers, and they need a crazy boogeyman because this is how insane our country is, right? So Trump, his whole cabinet was literally full of people who were climate change deniers. They were public climate change deniers. And there was just like drill, 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 get rid of any regulations and drill, drill, drill. And of course, then Joe Biden gets elected and dumb liberals think we did it. We're saving the environment. And all Biden is doing is like reinstating old laws. I mean, I'm going to show you in a second how Joe Biden is not actually better than Trump in some areas of climate. But so anyone that just doesn't give the corporate and the fossil fuel industry just 100% you can do whatever they want. They can just drill in your face. If your baby has oil, they can drill in your baby. And if they don't just get a green light for all of it, they complain because they're sociopaths. Jason Isaac, director of the Koch-funded Texas Public Policy Foundation. I love the names of these companies. Oh, it's Public Policy Foundation. This is probably good. Wrote last Friday morning, you'll have the opportunity to push back against the woke financial institutions. Oh, that's the funniest sentence I've ever heard in my life. Financial institutions that are woke. So first, let me just, hold on. Against the woke financials that are colluding against American energy, colluding. They're doing it. So financial institutions are not woke. What some financial institutions are doing are what we call greenwashing, where they say, they make $1 billion. I'm going to just pick round numbers here. Let's say they make like $1 billion a year, and then they spend $20 million on green energy. Or they say something like, CEOs profits are going to be they have to have more green energy, whatever. It's greenwashing. The fossil fuel industry is not going green. They're not 100% just drill, baby, drill, like this Koch brothers psychopath team that they are. One of them's dead, thank God. So there's no such thing as a woke financial institution that's like ethical, child pornographer. Like it doesn't exist. The American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, held its States and National Policy Summit in San Diego last week. Now, this ALEC is another, it's just a fossil fuel roundup, just big fossil fuel company. The group's Energy, Environment, and Agriculture Task Force, which met on Friday, voted to back 2 pieces of model legislation that portray climate policy, even climate policy that doesn't exist yet, as unfairly discriminating against fossil fuel Oh my God, fossil fuel companies are getting discriminated against. It's just not fair. They're having such a hard time. And I'm sure at the meeting, they're like, Joe Biden is just a socialist who doesn't want us to make money. Yes, he does. Biden approved oil, gas, and drilling permits on public lands at a faster rate than Trump. This was in the Hill. This was in numerous major mainstream corporate outlets. Yeah, I did a whole video on this. Biden has approved more permits for drilling on public lands than Trump did, almost by 100 per month. Oh God, but it's not fair how we're treating the fossil fuel. It's just not fair. It's not fair. And to talk about this grave injustice, let us bring on a host of Get Your News On with Ron, ladies and gentlemen, Ron Placone.
Yeah, I think the last time this many fossil fuel people gathered was the climate summit in Glasgow. That's the last time all of them were together. They're making it a monthly thing, it seems like. That's just wonderful to see.
Yeah,
Just
and they're just this little ragtag group of small business owner, Ron, just barely getting by, and big government is just sticking it to them. They can't make an honest living over there, the fossil fuel companies.
it's like the system plays out. I mean, this is the way it goes. So what happens is when Republicans have power, they just, on the surface, just strip away any type of protections that exist so that they set the stage for the oil companies to do literally whatever they want. And there's just nothing stopping them. So then the oil companies start doing literally whatever they want. Then it bleeds into the Democratic administration. And what the Democratic administration does is they'll be like, okay, so we can't be as blunt and on the surface as these Republicans are. So we're kind of gonna like make it seem like we're getting in your way a little bit, but what we're gonna do, it's kind of the equivalent of throwing a twig on a train track to stop a freight train. So we're gonna do that. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, we're actually gonna approve a fuck ton of permits. That's been the roadmap from Bush to Obama, from Trump to Biden. That's exactly how it goes on. Because people can point out, well, all these protections were stripped by Republicans. That's totally true. But let's be honest, they work together. They work together to make sure the oil companies get exactly what they want.
This goes back to Clinton. I mean,
Yep.
Reagan stripped him from Carter, and Bush Sr. kept him going. And then, Clinton came in and put some of them back. But I mean, honestly, this is the Democrats' playbook for everything. I mean, this is what they do. Then they scream, and then they make just these little incremental changes, and they go, "See, aren't you glad we held back the gates of fury from the demonic Republican Party?" It's like, no, you assholes, work together. It's unbelievable. Like, if you go to Open Secrets, and I've done this, and I did this in the video, the clip I did showing how Biden has literally approved more drilling permits than Trump. Like, he's approved more. And I showed on Open Secrets, the Democrats get almost just as much as money from the fossil fuel industry as the Republicans do. But they're paid to go, we just change. And that's literally, and then these Vote Any Blue will do suckers, and you're a sucker. You're a sucker if you think the Democrats are better than the Republicans, or you think the Republicans are better than the Democrats. Whatever propaganda you were fed as a child in your home through whatever TV channel was on, or whatever your community all believes in. Because I know if you live in a red state, they sit there and they blame everything on the liberals, and only bad things happen in liberal cities. And you live in a blue state, a blue area like California, it's, oh, the crazy Republicans, they're the worst. And the fossil fuel industry has made plenty of money by both Democratic and Republican administrations. I mean, again, it's like the same thing what we just did in 20 years in Afghanistan. 4 presidents from both political parties, spent $3.5 trillion over 20 years and who benefited? The Taliban and the military-industrial complex that pays off both. I mean, like, Congress just approved $768 billion for the war budget.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, dude. And it really is. I mean, it's a systemic thing where it's just like, you have a neoliberal platform and a neo-fascist platform, and they're just kind of playing ping pong and keeping a volley up, and we're the ball in the middle that's getting banged around. And when it comes to the donor class, who has they got money on both teams. They got their money invested in both teams, and they control both teams. They control the Wall Street approved R team, and they control the Wall Street approved blue team, D team, or whatever. Like, they got it. They got them both. So, and you especially see that. I mean, Joe Biden, his biggest promise was, I will not ban fracking. He was saying that at the top of his lungs, how hard he wasn't going to ban fracking. They make it out like fracking is this. I mean, every election cycle they do it, and they plant the audience with these people with their questions. They make it out like fracking is some big booming industry and just so many people will just lose their jobs. it's a handful of temp jobs that are dangerous. They're not great. I mean, yeah, they pay a reasonable amount for a while, but then they're temporary. The economic cost to a community is devastating 100% of the time. The real people making money off of it are the handful of CEOs that benefit from this stuff. And the energy, quote unquote, isn't even kept domestic anyway. It's shipped to other countries. And it's a waste of time as far as energy goes. As far as our energy needs actually go, if you want to get literal about it, fracking is the equivalent of blowing up a human being to try to get them to fart. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's not even a temporary band-aid. I mean, we need to just get off of fossil fuels. There is no other solution. We need to get off of fossil fuels. We need to say goodbye. It is donezo. And when that happens, we're not going to live like freaking Amish people by candlelight. There are 11 different solutions out there that would replace fossil fuels, that would be a more sustainable way to meet our transportation needs. They will meet the moment. We can get past this. That we have not climaxed as a freaking species. It just hasn't happened. So we'll get there.
Well, yeah. The thing that the fossil fuel and look, that you're up against, literally billions of dollars in marketing money. I mean, you're up against the fact that, I mean, you made a joke about it, but it was completely accurate. The fossil fuel industry had the most people at the COP26 than any other country. They had more people they brought 500 lobbyists there. No other country, not China, not Russia, not the US, not India. None of these countries with big populations brought that many people. So we're up against this huge thing. And one of the things that they feed in the propaganda is that green energy is some like sci-fi thing that's way, hey, I'd love to replace fossil fuel, but it's just, we're not there yet. Yes, we are. We're completely there. I do a story almost once a week showing either some carbon capture solution that's already happening, that's working, some green energy thing that's happening. And every video I end the same way is, we just need real solutions. We need
the will. We need the will. Dude, one of the airlines, and I don't, don't quote me, it might have been Delta, but it's not important. One of the airlines has already flown a plane without fossil fuels.
Right.
They've already done it. And what pressure do they have to do it right now? Well, right now it's just a nice little marketing gimmick.
Sure.
It's probably a tax write-off, and they can go, hey, look at what we did. Look at what we did.
Mm-hmm.
Write a press release. Get the interns to write a press release. That's all it is right now. If we as a society got policy passed where it's like, hey, fossil fuels, we're freaking done. It's over. And now every airline can't sell a freaking ticket for a plane that, how many do you think are going to be flying planes that don't need fossil fuels real freaking quick?
Dude, it's the technology is already out there. I mean, and look what just happened in the middle of the country. These tornadoes, most of the tornadoes that hit they've never dropped. Tornadoes have never dropped in December. Yeah. They've never, some of them that did, they were the longest sustaining tornadoes in Kentucky. Some of them were on the ground longer than any tornadoes ever been in recorded history's ever been on the ground. I mean, things just got wiped out. I mean, completely wiped out. I mean, whole factories, whole towns, wiped out. And we're going to pretend that this isn't climate change related. I mean, we know this through the hurricanes.
Well, we know it is because it's because of the warming water and stuff.
Right.
Like we know it is.
Yeah. Which changes the jet streams and the two colliding airs cause the tornadoes. It's the same thing with the hurricanes. Climate change doesn't cause hurricanes or tornadoes. It exacerbates them and makes them worse. Or makes them stronger, makes them more violent, more dangerous, cause more damage. And if all these people care about, the people in charge care about his money, how much damage? I mean, we're talking about billions, tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars are going to be needed to rebuild these communities. Like how, and this is just, and yet we have the Gulf storms every summer. We have the fires on the West. I mean, look, the West Coast had its worst summer and fall ever. Of course, every fire season, it's worse than the year before. Every year we do this. And this is just America, not to mention the flooding that's happening everywhere. And again, like you say, it takes the will, it takes the political will, but the sad reality is it's going to take a top-down solution. It's going to take, here comes a dangerous word, a government mandate saying We're off of fossil fuels. That's what it's going to take. Grassroots. I mean, you and I've talked about this before. I'm all for, like, you have a plug-in hybrid. I have an electric car. We recycle. We do all these things. If we can get more people to do that, if 300 million Americans all did those things, that could change. That could help change things. I say vote with your dollars. Like, only fly on the airline that has the no fossil fuel plane or whatever. But we can only do that up to a certain point, because certain people's lives, they can't do it. They live out in remote areas where they can't have an electric car. Even with now, electric cars have like 300-mile ranges. That's still not enough for a lot of people. There's no infrastructure built for these electric cars. And on down the line, it's going to take a top-down solution. There's no other way to fix it.
And even if every single person could, individual actions will only go so far. We need, like, true systemic changes, to beat this thing, really. And so, yeah, absolutely. It's like, do your best as an individual. That's great. But know that if we don't have what you're saying, a top-down solution, it's basically going to be for naught.
And we just spent $768 billion, a 20-some billion dollar increase, of course. Each year you get new money. Doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter who controls Congress or the Senate. Both parties are down for war because they're paid to be down for war, as we've discussed. And it's going to take, we don't have, how are we going to pay for it? Well, nobody asked that about the $768 billion. I'll bet you $768 billion. Nobody asked how we're going to pay for it in Congress. Like, it's unreal.
Well, and the most amazing thing is like, they're not only giving money to such a terrible thing morally, war. I mean, obviously it's a despicable thing on every level, but it's also the biggest polluter. So they're saying, we want to do something about climate change. Well, here's a bunch of money for the thing that's exacerbating it the hardest. I mean, it's like war, like factory farming, all these companies like Amazon, like Walmart, these companies that are using the freaking planet as their playground. They're the big, I mean, no pun intended, but they're the big fish here in this scenario. And we as individuals, it's great we do what we can, but we're just a bunch of minnows in this scenario. And the biggest polluters on the planet, the United States as a country is one of the biggest polluters, and we're not getting hit hardest by climate change. Countries like Africa and places like that are getting hit hardest, and they're causing the least amount of things. I mean, it's a worldwide problem. It's going to take a worldwide solution, but we definitely have, like you said, the solutions are out there, and every single factor is part of the solution. It's not like, oh, technology is going to get us out of this. No, it's not. Technology is going to be part of the solution.
Right.
It's not going to be a non-factor. It's going to be part of it, but it's not all of it. Our habits are going to have to change. Our lifestyles are going to have to change. But when we say that, it doesn't have to be worse. On the contrary, it can be a lot better. People sometimes try to sell this fear thing like, oh, it's going to shake up everything. Like, is this status quo really so great that seeing it change would be that awful?
Ron,
there's more community gardens in your neighborhood. That sounds so fucking terrible. You're not sitting in traffic all the freaking time. That sounds so terrible. What are you missing out on?
I don't want to vision a world that doesn't have supply chain issues.
Like what the hell?
And cancer clusters. I don't want to live in that world, Ron. I don't want to live in a world where, I
tweeted today about how, like, I believe this, but I don't have to believe it because it's just the freaking truth. Nobody who doesn't need to do their job, like anyone who can do their job from home should. That's just, it should be that way forever. Like, there's no reason, all this space, all these offices and cubicles, we don't need it. We don't need it. People are actually more productive. And I get the socialization aspect of it. Like, I do get that. I get how some people's like, I kind of like, seeing my coworkers and stuff like that.
Right.
I get that. Easy solution, though. All the time, you're not going to be freaking commuting, where you're not going to be using a car or whatever. Have a happy hour once a week.
Yeah.
Have a freaking, like, you got more time. And instead of like saying hello by the water cooler while the boss is, up your ass to go be more productive, meet at a bar after work. You guys have more time to do that now. Problem solved. So there's no reason people should not be in offices anymore. Anyone who can do their job from home should. We should have subsidized municipal broadband all over the freaking country. And then all this office space should be converted into shelters for the homeless and or affordable housing. That's what should happen. That's what should freaking happen. And there were some people that I don't know. Oh man, but some people, they like to sit in the cubicle. They like to sit in 3 hours of traffic. What status quo are you trying to hold on to?
You mean all these jobs that people are not returning to during this great resignation? People, those are the jobs. That's how much people like it. All these people that are like, I'm not going to work anymore. I'm not doing this for all the reasons you've outlined, and probably many others. There's a lot of reasons for this great resignations, but some of them are the ones you've outlined. I don't want to do the commute. I don't want to go to the work. I don't want to work in some job I don't like. I mean, like all these reasons. And I'd rather work from home. I'd rather have my own online business or whatever it is. I mean, we're seeing people move out of big cities and move. We've seen that. We've seen that in Los Angeles. We've seen we've seen that all over the place. And all of these solutions, like people would probably prefer to support their local farmers more than get, a head of lettuce that was like shipped on 2 trains and a car, like a cargo, like it's preposterous. I've mentioned this to you before.
That was grown in a freaking lab.
Yeah.
Instead of grown by someone who has a farm 45 minutes from you.
And then, well, how do you deal with the big cities? Well, you have farmers markets. There's also hydroponics. I mean, like there's these, I've seen them now, these shipping containers that they've just made into little hydroponic farms, basically growing vegetables. And you can put it in any city, but you in an abandoned, parking lot or abandoned building, just a lot. You could just put a thing in there. Oh, there's food for that neighborhood. Like that's all these solutions are out there. There's indoor farming, for cities, for urban areas. I mean, it's all doable. I mean, putting grass on rooftops in big cities helps reduce especially in a city like Los Angeles, that in the summer it's really hot. They've proven that you put grass or gardens on rooftops, it lowers the temperature because the big concrete jungle raises the temperature, especially in the summer. There's all these little solutions out there. There's a million solutions that can all be implemented. And some solutions are going to be different based on the geography and the climate of certain regions. But that's why you need a big top-down solution. Look how good the air quality was the first 2-3 months of the pandemic, because no one was driving, right? That was a deliberate, but that was a benefit of everybody in lockdown. I'm not saying we should go to lockdown. I'm saying, look what happens when the whole world got together and went, hey, this is COVID serious. Everybody stay home. Oh, the climate got better. There's going to be all these ancillary benefits and things we can find. There's all these solutions out there. We put a bunch of smart people in a room, not a bunch of fucking soulless, gold watch wearing maggots that the Koch brothers have paid for. Anyway, so so it's going to take some government mandates to put in a Green New Deal, folks. It's one big government mandate. Maybe I'm not the true left anymore. I've sold out to big green. So
to less traffic.
Big less traffic. I've sold out to big sustainability. I've sold out to small carbon footprint.
I've sold out to big city internet. That's the all.
I've sold out to.
I sold out to big utility, baby. I'm big public utility.
I've sold out to big farmers markets. That's what I've sold out to, Ron. Well, Ron, I know
I would happily sell out to that. Actually,
wouldn't that be great?
Oh man, just like a free basket for me to be like, your stuff is just so great. If you find yourself in the San Pedro area, stop by the farmer's market and tell them Ron sent you. They'll be like, who's that? They're like, the ginger guy who waves and sometimes makes the goofy jokes. Remember that one time where he stopped at the beer stand and on his way out, he said, hey, it's locally grown beer. And you gave him a pity laugh? That fucking guy. That's Ron. We love him.
Oh, like, Wouldn't it be great if everybody was just riding their bicycles or walking to their local farmer's market and that's where they got their produce every week rather than driving to some big grocery store and, that stuff that was shipped in from 3 states over on a plane and a truck and a boat and a thing? Like, I'm just
Dude,
saying.
it's about, I mean, yeah, it's like when we talk about these things, like, well, what about blah blah blah? I'm like, yeah, we could have a better freaking life. And in other countries, it's like they kind of are already living this way.
Yeah.
Like they don't go to these big grocery store, or if they do, it's like for a couple things that they can't get at the
Right.
local. I mean, my family in Italy, like that's how they are. Their car, like I'll never forget it. When I went into my cousin Pio's car, it smelled like a new car. Like it had that new car smell because he never uses it. Like there's no like it's like they have to occasionally go to the grocery store to get like certain items that they just can't get at their market. Like just certain random things that they need. So they use it for that. That's it.
That's it.
And it's a hybrid. So it's like they charge it and it smells like a new freaking car. And then
Yeah.
they go to the grocery store, get the handful. And the grocery stores are smaller because most people, that's what they use the grocery store for. It's like a handful of things that they can't get at other markets. So they go there for that. So the grocery stores are smaller. They don't need to be huge. They know what you're coming for,
Yeah.
And so they get those couple things and then like, that's it. His car probably still smells like a new car. And I guarantee he still has the same car. It's
It's
just such a
preposterous.
better way of life.
It's
I'm
such a
not
better
saying
way of
it's
living.
perfect there. It's not perfect anywhere,
No.
but man,
If everybody
sometimes it's
got
like, what
together
are we doing?
and America, unfortunately, has to really be the leader on this, and it's not. It wants to think that it is, but it's not. It's not the leader on this. I mean, if America was leading the way on green energy, then we would be in a position to go, hey, China and Russia, I know you guys got pipelines and you need oil, but let's all work together to get you off of that because we're off of it. Hey, India, I know you're a growing, emerging market of over 1 billion people, and you need cheap fossil fuel to build up your, infrastructure the way America got to do 70 years ago, but that doesn't work anymore. So we're going to help you. The international community is going to help you. We're going to spend money and all these the thing that makes me so mad, these fossil fuel companies, the military industrial complex, if any of them are watching, which I doubt, if you guys are, you could make a lot of money doing green energy. If you stop making bombs and drills and oil pipelines, you could, because we're going to need a lot of technology. We're going to need if we took the R&D departments at all the big military industrial complex, the defense contractors, took that brain power and that money and just shifted it away from bombing the shit out of poor people to actually saving the human race from climate extinction. Look what we could do. Like, imagine what Boeing and Raytheon with their brain power, their resources, what could they come up with that could reverse this?
Just think about Wall Street. And I know like we're just, I mean, right now we're just reciting pipe dreams at this point, no pun intended. But like imagine Wall Street where like their goal is just generating as much money as possible.
Right.
And they are estimated at about, I mean, they have about a quadrillion. That's what Wall Street is worth, about a quadrillion. That would be, I mean, like that would be like paying for universal healthcare. That would be like if their entire amount of wealth was a freaking coastline. It would be like the equivalent of licking your finger, getting a little speckle of sand and walking away with it. So that's the type of revenue potential Wall Street has. Imagine if like, cause the, the funds are there, like the actual like currency is there. Currency's not an issue. Read Stephanie Kelton. It's not an issue. So imagine if they just said, okay, instead of just making as much money as possible, like it's just all dedicated to figuring out climate change and all these stupid startups that you guys start where you're trying to go billion and bust because you all want to get the next Facebook or the next Google, and you have this portfolio of assets that you shit all over, and people that work in these things, they lose their jobs every couple days. It's a totally unsustainable bullshit system. If all that was just like, hey, instead, every single effort, it's not billion or bust anymore. It's trying to figure out climate change. I mean, we'd have a different world really quick. Now, I mean, what I just described will never, ever happen. But, you know, when people say we can't do it, it's like, yeah, we can. We
Absolutely
can.
could.
The priorities are just really backwards.
Absolutely could. We could do it. We could do anything we wanted to. I mean, we literally, America was not a world power in 1941. And we took the whole country together to fight the Nazis. We did that all together. We boom, turned it over, and the whole country got on board. The whole country did it, and we could do that. We could lead the world, and like you say, the financial industry, the military industrial, all these defense contractors, the fossil fuel companies could all be. They could go, look, we did it. I mean, they could if they wanted to, and they could still make money and everything else. But if we don't fix it, species that don't evolve go extinct. So anyway, let's end on that note. That sounds fun. So
Extinction?
Ron,
Question mark.
Ding. Who knows?
Ding.
Speaking of a top-down solution, Ron, tell everybody about your tour dates you got coming up in the spring.
Yeah, in April, I'm going to be going out east. I'm starting in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Then I'm going up to Canada. So it goes Pittsburgh, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Burlington, Vermont, Portland, Maine, Boston, Mass, New York City, baby. That's happening in April. Get your tickets now at romplacone.com.
Boom. All right, buddy. Thanks for being on the show. Shave your knuckles for justice. Boom.
Boom.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood. And go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a P.O. box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.